Field of Devotion, it's taking a closer look into family-owned farms in Jersey. And it really touches on the importance of sustainability because growing is getting harder, especially organic growing. Climate change has been the biggest challenge for a lot of these smaller farms. But even as small as the farms are that they featured here, they still are crucial in providing food for large numbers of people within their um, vicinity. What was interesting about this was the use of plant biology to make discoveries scientifically to develop genetic resistance in plants. So we talk about basil, which is very popular and profitable. I would have not guessed. I mean, I use it often, but you don't really think about the profitability margin of this plant. And there's this mildew disease that's been devastating all the crops in Jersey, making it unprofitable for them and making it hard for them to sell outside of their state because there's this fear that this disease is going to infect other crops. And then usually I think that the solution for a lot of these farms is to use some sort of pesticide or some sort of chemical based solution. But instead, they chose to use science, cross pollination. They're able to solve the issue by creating a hybrid and researching different genetic plants that have similar genetics to this basil. And they find a way to genetically modify these plants using natural ways to make these plants resistant to disease. And you would hope that this is something that will continue on as a way to keep our plants and our farms not chemically modified in the effort to prevent disease and make more money or make more profit. But, this chemical modification that happens also makes the food inherently unhealthy and adds to other problems. So I really liked how they came together with science to make a solution here.
Field of Devotion. This is such a well crafted doc. It just guided us through the importance of farming in the Garden State with the threats of development and climate change and instability. I feel like I really got a deep understanding of what a day in the life of a farmer looks like in all of the roller coaster of environmental impacts and cultural impacts on their livelihood, and how these instabilities can change food production. And once we're aware of the vital need of farmlands, we then traveled into a more in-depth look at the biological approaches. And I thought the changing of genomes to make resilient and resistant plants was fascinating. And I loved being guided through that and treated with intellectual respect instead of them kind of watering it down or dumbing it down for the audience. They took a very approachable way of explaining while still getting quite in depth. And I just thought it gave me pause on the food that I'm eating and thinking about what a future might look like for farming as well.
This was such a fascinating watch. Right from the start, the title is really clever. Obviously, there's the double play there. I had no idea basil was such a huge market, so I was interested to learn about it, and then learn about the struggles and see how through this documentary everything seems so dire, but then there's absolutely this inspiration, this uplifting sort of vibe at the same time, where then we meet these scientists. They all seem lovely and charming in their own way, and with their hearts really in the right place. And we we learn about the problem, we learn about the people addressing the problem, what motivates them. We see solutions come to fruition. I mean, it's great. From a narrative standpoint, it has everything we love about story. It's put together really well. It feels just so salt of the earth, but also really global and commercial as far as the implications of what they're doing. And I just I love this group of people. Their motivation for the work they do is just very genuine and admirable. Um, and yeah, I think the filmmakers just really, you really put your finger on the pulse of something great here. And it's just the kind of message we need right now. Climate change is obviously a serious topical uh, challenge right now. So the more media we have available to, um, share around to wake people up to help address it, the better. I mean, the bit about the fellow from the power company saying it's only farmland. I mean, that honestly made me just want to vomit a little bit. Like, what are you talking about? But there's absolutely people in this world with that sort of mindset who need to watch something like this. So, really strong piece. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
This was a really fascinating film, and I thought it was incredibly well done. I really enjoyed listening to the generations of, in one family who had become farmers. I thought that they did an incredible job with the cinematography, all the extreme close-ups of, like the flowers and the crops and what was going on. I thought that was pretty amazing. The other thing that I really enjoyed about this was the educational aspect, because I learned a lot. Not only did I learn a lot about farming and stuff like that, and about how many farms were in New Jersey, but it gave me a deeper understanding about what really goes into farming. And also how quickly a disease can kill off some crops, the crops of basil, and what happened with that, and how long it takes to create a hybrid to withstand a certain disease. I found it fascinating to listen to each of the scientists and them talk about what they did and how they explained what they were doing. I thought that that was great. It made this very clear, concise. It was easy to understand. The subject matter was really interesting, and it was fascinating. I think you guys did a great job on this film.
Such a wonderful film. It's really nice to see a piece that's calling attention to individual, commercial farms owned by individuals. I grew up in an agriculture-heavy state, Florida, and I know like the middle of the state, going from the central to the south part, it's all farming. A lot of privately owned farms down there. So, and I've seen a lot of that. Grew up around it, so I really appreciate this. I appreciate seeing it. I have not seen a lot about the farms in New Jersey, and it's the Garden State. But it was nice to be educated on that, and to be able to see farming in a location that we don't normally look to. We usually think about the South or what have you when we think of farming. But anyway, this piece was put together so nicely. All the on-camera interviews were wonderful. Everybody on screen, everybody who spoke did a great job. It was wonderfully directed. It was wonderfully edited, put together. Everything about this was done very well. It was nice to see this story about these private farmers and the scientists that are taking upon themselves to create crops that are resistant to environmental change. So bravo to everybody in the movie and to the folks who made the movie. It was really good. Best of luck with this. I hope it gets out there and gets seen, because it's really wonderful.
It's wild to think there was a period of time where 80% of Americans were farm workers, and bring it to the present that only 2% of us are farm workers. In addition to that, if we do not figure out the ways to start farming sustainably, we will have more of issues when it comes to farming in the long run, due to the rapid changing climate affecting the way we grow food as we currently speak. Who knew there was a basil crisis? I didn't. Who knew basil was a $300 million industry? I didn't. I have learned more about basil than I ever thought I would ever learn about basil. Uh, I did love, however, seeing a plant that I digest on a regular basis and see the research that goes into curing a newer disease created by climate change. Here you get to see the group of people dedicated to the basil research to create better conditions so that we don't lose this viable plant that we use with our food on a daily basis.
Fields of Devotion was a really, really interesting piece. I think it was, I think you had such a wide array of people commenting on this, from scientists and how they're working to, help the crop and create, breeds of basil and other plants that, can withstand different drought and different ecological impacts on it. And then you have the families who have worked in these fields for like generations, and having each of them talk about their own experience and stories. I think it brings it brings all of the intellect and all the information to it, but it also brings a really great emotional standpoint to this, that these are people's lives, and just how it can impact them for generations beyond just, a harvesting season. I think it was really, really interesting, really informational, and overall just a great piece. Really, really well done.